crisis then disappear until someone else fixed it kind of man. Clara gave him the address, watched as he pulled out his phone, and made a call. He spoke in low tones, his back to her, his free hand running through his wet hair, in a gesture that suggested he had done this before. Made calls about protecting people, moving pieces around a board only he could see. When he finished, he turned back to her. They will be there in 15 minutes. Your daughter will be brought to a safe house. You will meet her there. What about my car? Someone will move it. You are coming with me. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle this herself. Call the police. Figure out some way to navigate this nightmare without getting on the back of a motorcycle with a man who apparently scared trained criminals. But the truth was, she was terrified, and Adrian Cole, whoever he was, whatever he was, had just saved her life. That bought him at least a few hours of benefit of the doubt. She got out of the car, the rain immediately soaking through her scrubs, plastering her hair to her face. Adrian handed her his helmet. She stared at it. You need it more than I do, he said. What about you? I have a very hard head. Ask anyone who knows me. Clara put on the helmet, climbed onto the back of the motorcycle, and wrapped her arms around Adrian's waist, because there was literally nowhere else to put them. His body was solid, unmovable, like hugging a statue that happened to have a pulse. The motorcycle roared to life, and then they were moving, cutting through the rain and the night, leaving behind the diner and Clara's old Honda, and any illusion she had that her past with Daniel was really past at all. As they rode, Clara pressed her face against Adrian's back and wondered what she had just gotten herself into, and more importantly, how she was going to get herself and Sophie out of it alive. The safe house was not what Clara expected. She had pictured something out of a crime movie, a dingy apartment in a bad part of town, boarded windows, the smell of mold and regret. Instead, Adrian pulled up to a renovated warehouse in the Pearl District, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place that probably cost more per month than Clara made in a year as a nurse. He keyed in a code at the entrance, then led her through a lobby that was somehow both industrial and elegant, like someone had hired an architect who really understood the aesthetic appeal of steel beams. An elevator took them to the third floor, opening directly into a loft that looked like it had been designed by someone who appreciated both security and comfort in equal measure. Sophie was already there, sitting on a leather couch that probably cost more than Clara's car, playing a game on a tablet, while a woman with silver hair and kind eyes sat nearby. The woman looked up when they entered, gave Adrian a nod that seemed to communicate volumes, then smiled at Clara. Sophie jumped up, running to Clara with the kind of abandon only a 9-year-old, who did not yet understand the full scope of danger, could manage. Clara caught her, held her close, breathed in the familiar scent of Sophie's strawberry shampoo, and felt something in her chest unclench slightly. Hi, baby. You okay? I am fine. Mrs. Chen said we had to leave because of an emergency. She did not say what kind. Was it Dad? Clara hesitated. She had spent 2 years trying to shield Sophie from the reality of what Daniel was, who he had become. But clearly, Sophie was not as oblivious as Clara had hoped. It is complicated, Clara said finally. The default parent answer when the truth was too ugly to gift wrap. It is always complicated with Dad, Sophie observed, with the kind of wisdom that came from being forced to grow up faster than childhood normally allowed. Adrian cleared his throat. Sophie, this is Elena. She is going to stay with you while your mother and I talk. There are snacks in the kitchen. Help yourself. Sophie looked at Adrian with the frank assessment of a child who had learned to read adults for signs of danger. Whatever she saw must have passed inspection because she nodded, took Elena's hand, and let herself be led toward what Clara assumed was the kitchen. Once they were alone, Adrian gestured to the sitting area. Clara sat, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving behind the kind of bone-deep fatigue that made even thinking feel like an Olympic sport. Adrian sat across from her, leaning forward, elbows on his knees. Daniel stole something from Victor Kane, a flash drive containing financial records, money laundering operations, names of people in positions of power who were on Victor's payroll. He planned to use it as leverage, insurance, in case Victor ever decided Daniel was more liability than asset. Clara processed this. How do you know? Because Daniel tried to sell it to me first. What? Adrian's expression was grim. 3 weeks ago, Daniel contacted me, said he had information that could bring down Victor Kane's entire operation. He wanted $2 million for it. I told him he was an idiot, and that trying to blackmail Victor was a suicide mission with extra steps. Did he listen? What do you think? Clara closed her eyes. Of course Daniel had not listened. Daniel never listened. He was a man who mistook confidence for competence, and had somehow made it to his mid-30s without learning that the two were not the same thing. So now Victor wants the flash drive, Clara said, and he thinks I have it because Daniel and I were married. More specifically, he thinks Daniel hid it with you because you are the only person Daniel ever trusted, or at least the only person he trusted who had not already betrayed him or tried to kill him. Daniel did not trust me. He left me. No, Adrian corrected gently. You left him. There is a difference. And the fact that you were strong enough to walk away is probably why he thought you were strong enough to keep his secrets. Clara looked at this man, this stranger, who had appeared in her life 12 minutes after a desperate text, who had chased away trained criminals with nothing but his name, who spoke about crime and leverage and murder like he was discussing the weather. Who are you really? Adrian leaned back, studying her. I am someone who has been fighting Victor Kane for a very long time, someone who has lost people to him, someone who would very much like to see him lose for once. That is not an answer. It is the only answer I can give you right now. Clara wanted to push, but something in his expression stopped her. There was pain there, old and deep, the kind that had scars on its scars. Whatever Adrian Cole's story was, it was written in a language of loss that Clara recognized because she had her own version of it, her own chapters of things she did not talk about at dinner parties. So what now? She asked. Now we figure out if you actually have what Victor wants, because if you do, we can use it to end this. If you do not, we need to convince him you do not, before he decides to make an example of you. Clara thought about this, about the flash drive Daniel had asked for, the one she had lied about throwing away. It was in a box, in her closet, mixed in with old photos and Sophie's baby clothes, and the accumulated debris of a marriage that had ended in lawyers' offices and divided furniture. She had kept it because she had no idea what it was, just a blank flash drive, no label, no indication of what it contained. She had assumed it was work files, maybe some project Daniel had been working on. She had never bothered to check. I might have it, Clara said slowly. There was a flash drive. Daniel left it behind when he moved out. I did not throw it away. Adrian's entire demeanor shifted. Where is it? In my apartment, in a box in my closet. We need to get it. Tonight, Victor's men know where I live. They are probably watching the place. Let them watch. Adrian stood, pulling out his phone. They will be looking for you to come back alone, scared, trying to sneak in. They will not be expecting what I have in mind, which is, for the first time since Clara had met him, Adrian Cole smiled. It was not a particularly warm smile. It was the kind of smile a wolf might give a rabbit, just before explaining the food chain. A distraction. 2 hours later, Clara found herself standing outside her apartment building, watching as a furniture delivery truck parked directly in front, blocking the view from the black SUV that had taken up residence across the street. According to Adrian, the truck was not actually delivering furniture. It was delivering 8 very large, very intimidating men who were going to have a conversation with Victor's surveillance team about why following nurses was bad for their health. Adrian stood beside her, now wearing a jacket that concealed what Clara very much suspected was a weapon, possibly multiple weapons. He looked relaxed, casual, like they were just two people out for a late-night walk, and not about to break into an apartment that was potentially under hostile observation. "This is insane," Clara muttered. "Probably," Adrian agreed. "But it is also necessary. Victor does not respond to polite requests. He responds to action." They entered the building through the back entrance, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, because apparently Adrian did not believe in doing anything the easy way, if there was a more paranoid option available. By the time they reached Clara's fourth-floor apartment, her legs were burning, and she was questioning every life choice that had led to this moment. The apartment was dark, exactly as she had left it. Clara moved through familiar space with the confidence of someone who could navigate her home blind, leading Adrian to her bedroom, to the closet, to the box, tucked in the back corner beneath a pile of winter sweaters. She pulled out the flash drive. It looked so ordinary, just a small piece of plastic and circuitry that apparently contained enough information to make a crime boss send his goons after a single mother nurse. Adrian took it from her, examining it in the dim light. This could be it, or it could be Daniel's collection of bad action movies. Let us hope it is not movies. They heard it then. The sound of the front door opening, footsteps, trying to be quiet, but not quite succeeding. Clara's heart jumped into her throat. Adrian moved immediately, positioning himself between Clara and the bedroom door, his hand going to the weapon concealed under his jacket. But it was not Victor's men who appeared in the doorway. It was Daniel. He looked terrible, unshaven, unwashed, eyes red-rimmed and wild. He also looked desperate, which in Clara's experience made him approximately 1,000 times more dangerous than usual. "Clara," Daniel's voice cracked. "Thank God. I thought they had gotten to you."
They tried,
Clara said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Someone stopped them. Daniel's eyes shifted to Adrian. Recognition flickered across his face, followed quickly by fear.
"Cool.
"What are you doing here?" "Cleaning up your mess," Adrian replied evenly.
Cool.
"This is not your business. You made it my business when you dragged an innocent woman and her daughter into your catastrophically bad decision-making." Daniel stepped forward. Adrian's hand tightened on his weapon. Daniel stopped. "Clara, I need that drive." "Why?" Clara asked. "So you can what, Daniel? Try to sell it again? Hide it somewhere else? Get more people hurt because you thought you were smarter than a crime boss?" "I was trying to protect us." "No." Clara shook her head, feeling 2 years of suppressed anger finally finding its voice. "You were trying to protect yourself. Like always. You did not think about me. You did not think about Sophie. You thought about Daniel Ward and how Daniel Ward could come out on top, and everyone else could just deal with the consequences. That is not fair. You know what is not fair? Having armed men chase me through the rain, having to hide my daughter, having to trust a complete stranger because my ex-husband decided to play games with people who do not play." Daniel's face hardened. "Just give me the drive, Clara." "No, it is mine. It is evidence," Adrian interjected. "Evidence that is going to the FBI, along with a detailed testimony about Victor Kane's operations." They heard it then. The sound of the front door opening. Footsteps. Trying to be quiet, but not quite succeeding. Clara's heart jumped into her throat. Adrian moved immediately, positioning himself between Clara and the bedroom door, his hand going to the weapon, concealed under his jacket. But it was not Victor's men who appeared in the doorway. It was Daniel. He looked terrible, unshaven, unwashed, eyes red-rimmed and wild. He also looked desperate, which in Clara's experience made him approximately 1,000 times more dangerous than usual. "Clara." Daniel's voice cracked. "Thank God. I thought they had gotten to you." "They tried," Clara said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Someone stopped them. Daniel's eyes shifted to Adrian. Recognition flickered across his face.